If I were the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in fire, but I'd begin with despair, depression, anxiety, and darkness. And I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, and I would never stop buying until I had it all. But I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree and shoved it down the throat of Eve. See? So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States and the world by recruiting powerful men who are willing to kill off women and children. I'd churches first with Hollywood lights and cameras. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers, slander, gossip, and lies, until the voices echoed through the sky with demonic chatter of every color, shape, and size that could be tolerated. With the whisper of a serpent, I would whisper and hiss, as I whispered to Eve, "Do as you please. Get on your knees. After your career, you don't need to be married." To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth, a work of fiction. Like the man behind the curtain, I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is crazy. And the old I would teach to pray after me. "Our Father, who art Satan." And then I'd really get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make perverted literature exciting and teach it in schools so that love and marriage would appear dull, uninteresting, and eventually disappear. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and put them on prime time for the kids. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could, with a jab and a prescription and a dash of frog's eyes. I'd sell alcohol and cigarettes to ladies and gentlemen of distinction and lose most of the world in a cloud of smoke as I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves instead of at church together, churches at war with themselves instead of praying together, and nations at war with themselves for the third time, until each in its turn was consumed by itself in its own anger and greed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames and pouring gasoline on the fire to alert the aliens and drones of our arrival, finally, as they pour themselves another glass of champagne. Yes, if I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. They're only children. What could they possibly have to be angry about? And before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door because even the law is unwanted and can't get through the policies. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing into the streets. I'd have judges promoting human trafficking, and soon I could evict God from the courthouse along with his book, then from the schoolhouse along with prayer, and then from the houses of Congress as I send them to search for Santa Claus and his sleigh on Christmas break. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion, with special effects for science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money as they climb up on their dancing poles. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbols of freedom a child's cry and the symbol of justice a war. If I were the devil, I'd take from those with wisdom and give to those who destroy until I had killed morality on the entire planet. And what do you bet I could get whole states to promote human trafficking and prostitution as the way to get rich? I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, integrity, and moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is a bad business deal, that hooking up is more fun, and that the crimes on the TV are the way to be. And thus, I could undress women and children in public without anyone even noticing. And I could lure them into bed with promises of love and belonging that only infest them with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's already doing, but add the gasoline, spaceships, and drones. If I were the devil, I'd fly in the sky to match the fire on the earth and put another log on the fire. as I reach to roast another marshmallow. This is just some girl on behalf of America and the world, and on behalf of Paul Harvey, Part 2. Good day.